When my sister Leah used my credit card without asking, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't about the $8,000 she spent on clothes, shoes, and salon visits. It was the way she smiled at me the next morning, pretending everything was fine, like I was too stupid to notice. When I asked her if she knew anything about the charges, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "No idea, maybe your bank messed up." That lie hit harder than the bill itself. I had always been the one to take care of her. When she failed classes in college, I paid for her extra credits. When she couldn't make rent, I covered it without a word. I even defended her when our parents said she was irresponsible. I used to think family meant helping no matter what. But that night, sitting on my couch with the statement in my hands, I finally realized what it meant to be used. The charges kept replaying in my head. $220 at a spa. $1,300 at a boutique. $640 at a salon. All under my name. And at the end, the total $8,642. I stared at that number until it burned into my brain. Every swipe of that card was a choice she made. Every purchase said, "You'll clean it up like always." I didn't yell at her. I didn't tell our parents. I just said, "It's fine." And she smiled like she'd gotten away with it. That smile is what made me swear I'd get her back. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Not by screaming or taking her to court. I wanted something quiet, something that would stay with her the way her lies stayed with me. I didn't want her to hurt the way I did. I wanted her to understand. I wanted her to feel that sting of trust breaking, that slow, cold realization that someone close to you only sees what they can take. I didn't know how I'd do it yet, but I knew it had to be something she'd never forget. That night I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to be the sister who cleaned up her messes anymore. Leah had taken something from me, my trust, my peace. And I was going to take something from her that would mean even more. I didn't know then that revenge could feel calm, that it could grow slowly, like a quiet plan waiting in the dark. While Leah kept living like nothing happened, I started watching, thinking, planning. I smiled when she bragged about her new outfits, knowing what she didn't, that I was done being her safety net. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. She'd stolen from me without guilt, so I decided I'd steal something from her too. Not her money, her dream. Dinner at my parents' house was always a performance, and Leah played her part perfectly. She laughed at the right moments, told the same funny stories, and hugged our mother like she was the most grateful child on earth. People watched her and smiled. My parents looked proud, like Leah could do no wrong. I sat there quiet, sipping my water, while their eyes slid past me as if I were invisible. At family gatherings, I felt like a stranger in my own life. Neighbors and cousins told me I was serious, too careful, always thinking ahead. They called me Tessa, the responsible one, like it was a fault. It stung more because I had spent years trying to keep things steady, paying bills, fixing small problems, covering gaps, so the household did not wobble. No one thanked me. Instead, they praised Leah's charm and easy smile. A week after I found out what she had done, I tried to talk to her alone. I chose the quiet of the backyard, away from ears and plates. I breathed deep and told her I needed answers. Leah tilted her head, like she was hearing a joke. She folded her arms and said, "It's just money, Tess. You'll live." Her voice was light and careless, the same voice she used when she wanted something and expected it to be handed over. Those words hit a place I did not know I had. It was like a cold hand pushing into something soft. I could have exploded, called out her name, dragged the truth into the open for everyone to see. Part of me wanted to blast all of this into the light and watch the house fall into honest mess. But I stopped. The anger was loud, but I let it quiet down into something else, something colder and clearer. I decided not to expose her right away. I would not trade one small victory for a lifetime of chaos. I knew how the family would react. They would rally behind Leah, forgive quickly, call me dramatic. I could see the pattern already. So I folded my plan into silence and let the family keep their happy picture. I kept my mouth shut at dinners. I laughed when the jokes landed. I hugged my mother when she reached for me. I learned how to wear normal on the outside while a seething patience grew inside me. Living with the pretense felt strange at first, but it gave me time. Time to watch, time to learn how Leah moved, how she slipped through people. I watched her charm win over old friends, and I watched my parents' eyes soften for her every time she cried about small troubles. I kept my face steady. I let the house believe what it wanted. Meanwhile, I began to shape a plan that would not be loud or messy. It would be precise. Months passed, and life went back to its quiet rhythm, at least on the surface. Leah still called me every few days, acting like everything between us was fine. She'd talk about her job, her friends, her plans, always painting her life as bigger and better than it really was. I listened, nodded, and played my part as the calm, caring sister she believed she still had. I had learned how to smile without meaning it. One evening, she came over with her usual energy, throwing her bag on the couch like she owned the place. She started talking about a car show she'd gone to with her friends. Her eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. She described this old car, a cherry red 1969 Mustang Fastback. The way she talked about it, you'd think it was a living thing. She said it was her dream car, the one she'd buy someday when I make it big. She even showed me pictures she'd saved on her phone. Photos of shiny paint, black leather seats, and polished chrome that reflected the sunlight like glass. I smiled and said it looked amazing. I even asked questions, acting curious, pretending to be happy for her. Inside, I felt a strange kind of calm settle over me. I didn't feel angry anymore, just focused. Leah had taken my money like it meant nothing. But this car? This car meant everything to her. It wasn't just a thing she wanted. It was a symbol of the life she believed she deserved. And that was when an idea began to take shape. As she talked, she kept saying things like, "When I get that car, I'll finally feel like I've made it." I just nodded. The words sank deep. I realized what my revenge should be. Not something to destroy her, but something she would always remember. If she thought she could use my money and my trust, then maybe I'd use her dream the same way. Not out of hate, but to show her what real loss felt like. That night after she left, I sat on the couch thinking about the car she described. I could picture it perfectly. The color, the sound, the way it would make her feel to have it. I didn't know yet how I would do it, but I knew I would. Leah had taken from me without guilt, and I would return the favor in a way she'd never see coming. She'd get close enough to touch her dream, and that's when she'd learn what betrayal truly feels like. I started changing how I lived without telling anyone why. I stopped eating out and turned down nights out with friends. My morning coffee became tap water. I canceled memberships and put every extra dollar into a separate account. I picked up freelance projects on weekends and took late shifts that left me tired, but the savings growing. Friends asked if I was saving for a house. I let them think that. It was easier than explaining the real reason. I made a budget and stuck to it like a rule. Small things that once felt normal, new shoes, a haircut, a weekend trip, became choices I refused to make. When my sister called about lunch or a sale, I smiled and said I was busy. I learned to say no without shaking. The sacrifices added up quietly. Week by week, the account grew, and the idea in my head began to feel possible instead of just a wish. At night, I searched online for that exact car. I used different sites, looked through old forums, and checked classified ads in states I had never visited. I put alerts on my phone so I would know when one popped up. Most listings were fake or too rusty, but then I saw it. A well-kept 1969 Mustang Fastback, the right color, the right lines. The ad said the owner was a retired mechanic living a few states away. The pictures showed polished chrome and dark leather seats. It looked cared for, not like a showpiece but like something loved. I called the number, and the voice on the other end sounded tired but honest. He told me he had rebuilt the engine years ago and kept the car in a heated garage. He said he wanted it to go to someone who would honor it, not to a dealer who would strip it for parts. I felt a strange trust for a man I had never met. We arranged a time for me to see it. I drove for hours and arrived nervous and excited. The car sat in a tidy garage with tools hanging in order. Up close, the paint caught the light in a way that made my chest tighten. The lines were clean. There was a small scratch on the bumper like a scar, and it made the car feel real. The mechanic walked me through everything he had done, new brakes, fresh wiring, and a tune that made the engine sing. He handed me a folder with service records, and I read every line like a map. I wrote a check and signed the papers. I registered the title in my name and arranged for a trailer to bring the car home. Not a single person knew. I drove back the same night and took a different route than usual, the car riding on a trailer like a secret. When I first saw it parked under my own garage light, gleaming and quiet, something inside me settled. It was perfect in every way that mattered. It belonged to me now, and with it, my plan was no longer just an idea. It had a shape and a weight. I held the keys and understood that this gift would teach a lesson she could not forget. Leah had always lived like tomorrow would fix itself. She spent money faster than she earned it, always trusting that something, or someone, would come through in time. For a while, she managed to hide how bad things had gotten. She still dressed well, still smiled like she had it all together. But small cracks began to show. She stopped answering calls from certain numbers. She checked her phone constantly, then sighed when she saw who it was. Once, I caught her glancing through her mail before tossing a pile of unopened envelopes into the trash. Her laughter became shorter, her stories thinner. Even our parents began to notice she looked tired. But when anyone asked, she said she was just working hard, or reorganizing her finances. In truth, she was drowning. I found out later that she had been living on credit cards, using one to pay off another. She was behind on her rent, her insurance, even her phone bill. Her savings account had been empty for months. Every part of her life was held up by borrowed money and fake confidence. One rainy night, my phone buzzed. It was Leah. Her voice cracked before she even said hello. Her car had finally given out on her, dead engine, repair costs way beyond what she could afford. She had tried calling a few friends, but no one could help. Finally, she turned to me, the person she once used and lied to. She said she was sorry for how things went before, and that she really needed just one more favor. I let her talk. She told me the mechanic said her car was finished, that she couldn't even sell it for parts. She said she couldn't get to work without it, that everything in her life was falling apart. I could hear the panic in her breathing. I kept my voice calm and steady, almost kind. I told her I'd help her out this time, and that I actually had something special planned for her. Her tone changed instantly. Hope slipped back into her words. She thanked me over and over, saying she didn't know what she'd do without me. When we hung up, I stared at my phone for a long moment. My heart didn't race like it used to when she asked for help. Instead, I felt a quiet sense of control. The kind that comes from knowing exactly what you're doing and why. A few days later, Leah started acting like her old self again. She told our parents she was working things out, posted cheerful updates, and told her friends everything was looking up. She even texted me a smiling selfie with the caption, "Things are finally turning around." I replied with a short message, "Good to hear." Outwardly, I stayed calm and polite, the same dependable sister she always counted on. Inside, though, I could feel something darkly satisfying rising in me. Her faith in me was returning, and that was exactly what I needed. Soon, she would see what I truly meant when I said I had something special planned. Saturday morning came with a bright sky and quiet air. I sent Leah a short message, "Come by today. I have a surprise for you. It might change everything." I didn't say more. I wanted her to wonder. Within minutes she replied, full of exclamation marks, asking what it was. I told her only, "You'll see." By late morning, I heard the sound of her small, rattling car pulling up to my driveway. When I looked through the window, I saw her step out wearing a floral dress, hair perfectly done, makeup shining in the sun. She looked nervous but excited, the way she always did when she thought something good was coming her way. She even carried a small gift bag, like she wanted to make peace. I opened the door before she could knock. "Hey," she said with a wide smile. "What's this surprise about?" "You'll find out," I said softly, motioning for her to come in. She followed me, trying to start small talk along the way, but her words trailed off when I led her toward the garage. Her heels clicked against the floor as she tried to keep up. I could feel her curiosity building behind me like heat. I stopped in front of the garage door, holding the small remote in my hand. She stood beside me, frowning playfully. "You're being so mysterious, Tess. What is this?" "Just wait," I said. The door began to lift slowly, letting in a line of sunlight that spread across the floor until it revealed the shape behind it. When she saw it, she froze. The cherry-red Mustang gleamed under the light, its surface shining like fire. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then she gasped so loudly I thought she might cry right there. "Oh my God," she whispered, stepping forward as if she couldn't believe it was real. "No way. No way, Tess. You didn't." I watched her circle the car, her fingers tracing the curves of the hood. Her eyes glistened, and her voice shook when she said, You bought this for me?" Her voice was soft, small, almost childlike. She turned to look at me with a mix of hope and disbelief, like she was seeing her dream come to life. I smiled, calm and steady. "Something like that," I said. Her face broke into a grin, and for a few seconds, she was lost in pure joy. She opened the driver's side door slightly, running her hand along the handle as if she could already feel herself driving it. I said nothing. I let her enjoy it, let the moment stretch long enough for her to believe every second of it. In the sunlight, with her dream right in front of her, Leah looked the happiest I'd seen her in years. She didn't notice that I never said it was hers. She didn't see the look in my eyes, the quiet satisfaction of a plan that was finally ready to unfold. Leah stood there, still staring at the car as if it were magic made real. Her smile hadn't faded, and her hands trembled slightly when I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a small velvet pouch and held it out to her. She gasped and pressed both hands to her chest before taking it. Her voice broke into a nervous laugh. "You didn't have to do this," she said, though she didn't mean it. She opened the pouch slowly, and when she saw the keys shining inside, her breath caught. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I can't believe this. Tess, you actually did this for me." I nodded once, watching her closely. She pulled out the keys and stepped toward the driver's side door, her eyes full of tears. Her hand reached out to unlock it, but before the key slid in, I reached out and stopped her wrist gently. Her head turned fast, confusion filling her face. "What?" she asked, half laughing, half nervous. "Oh," I said softly, keeping my voice even. "These aren't yours." Her smile vanished. She blinked, waiting for me to say I was joking, but I didn't. I just looked at her. "They're mine," I said, quiet but clear. "I just thought you should see what your lies cost me." The color drained from her face. She let the keys drop into her palm and stared at them like they'd burned her. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. You said you had a surprise for me." "I did," I said. "This is it. You wanted to know what happens when you take from people who trust you. I wanted you to see what your dream looks like in someone else's hands." She took a step back, her mouth open, shaking her head. "You're insane. You bought this car just to show it off to me." "No," I said. "I bought it to remind myself what I'm capable of when I stop fixing other people's messes. Every dollar that paid for this came from time I could have spent living. From the dinners I skipped, the weekends I worked, the things I gave up, because you made me believe I had to clean up after you." Her voice cracked. "You're being cruel. This is messed up, Tess. You're jealous, that's what this is." I almost laughed. "Jealous? Of what? Of being used?" I stepped closer, my tone calm but sharp. "You stole from me, lied to me, and then acted like it was nothing. I could have reported you. I could have ruined your record. But I didn't. I wanted this moment instead." She turned away, trying to hide her face, muttering something about me being heartless. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "No, Leah. I'm not heartless. I'm just done being your victim." Silence filled the garage. She stood still, her fingers tightening around the keys that weren't hers. The sunlight glinted off the car, and I could see her reflection in the red paint, small, broken, and for the first time, completely powerless. News in our family travels faster than wildfire. Within a day, everyone knew that something had happened between me and Leah. She made sure of it. She called our parents first, crying so hard that my mother called me immediately afterward, demanding to know why I had embarrassed my sister. Leah had told them that I'd spent months planning to humiliate her, that I bought a car only to dangle it in front of her face. She said I did it because I was bitter and jealous, that I'd always hated how everyone loved her more. She made herself sound like the victim, and for a moment, it worked. My father's voice over the phone was cold. He told me he'd expected better from me. My mother said I should apologize and fix things before they got worse. I didn't argue. I just told them I'd come over and explain everything in person. That evening, I printed the credit card statement, the one with every charge Leah had made. I highlighted her favorite stores, the salon name, the online boutiques. Each one had her signature next to it. When I arrived at my parents' house, Leah was already there, sitting on the couch with red eyes and a tissue in her hand. She looked at me like she wanted to keep up the act, but I didn't give her the chance. I placed the envelope on the coffee table and said, "Before you say anything, just look." My mother hesitated, but she opened it. Her face changed slowly as her eyes moved down the page. My father took the papers next, reading in silence. The room went still. Leah's breathing got louder, shakier. She tried to say something, but no one listened. My father finally spoke first, his voice quiet but heavy. "Is this true?" Leah's mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked small, cornered. My mother covered her mouth with her hand. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. No one looked at me, but they didn't have to. The truth sat right there in front of them. I didn't yell or demand an apology. I just said, "I never told you because I didn't want to break the family apart. but I won't be blamed for her lies anymore. Then I stood up to leave. As I walked to the door, I heard my father sigh, long and tired. My mother said my name softly, but I didn't stop. Behind me, Leah started crying again, only this time it didn't sound like guilt or pain. It sounded like fear. For the first time, my parents saw her for who she really was. And for the first time, they saw that staying quiet all those months hadn't been weakness. It had been mercy. Weeks passed before I even touched the car again. It sat in my garage, quiet and polished, the red paint catching the light every morning. For a while, I didn't feel ready to drive it. It reminded me too much of everything that had happened. The lies, the anger, the years of being the one who always forgave. But one Saturday, I woke up early, opened the garage door, and decided it was time. The engine started with a smooth growl that filled the space. It was strong, steady, and alive. I backed out slowly, feeling a strange mix of nerves and peace. The streets were still quiet as I drove through the neighborhood, the morning air cool against my skin. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't need noise. For the first time in a long time, silence felt good. I headed toward the coast. The highway stretched out ahead of me, winding through cliffs and open fields. The wind rushed through the open window, carrying the smell of salt and seaweed. I let my hand rest on the wheel and just drove. The world outside seemed to move softer, slower, as if it knew I needed space to breathe. For the first hour, my thoughts drifted back to Leah. Her face when I stopped her from taking the car. The silence in our parents' house when they finally saw the truth. Then her texts that came afterward, each one a strange mix of apology and blame. One said, "I didn't mean to hurt you." Another, "You didn't have to go that far." The last one simply read, "I hope you're happy now." I never answered. There was nothing left to say. Every word would only open the same wound again, and I was done letting her pull me back into that place. I had spent too many years cleaning up after her mistakes, too many nights wondering if being a good sister meant letting myself be used. As I drove, the wind tangled my hair and the road stretched endlessly ahead. The sun climbed higher, making the water sparkle like broken glass. I pulled over at a lookout point, stepped out, and leaned against the car. The metal was warm under my hand. I looked at the ocean and let the sound of the waves drown everything else out. In that moment, I realized the car wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about her at all. It was mine, something I'd built through patience and quiet determination. Every mile I had driven, every dollar I'd saved, had led to this feeling of calm. The Mustang was more than just a car now. It was a reminder that I could draw a line and stand by it. I didn't need to explain myself or earn forgiveness. I just needed to move forward. The wind felt different that day, cool, clean, and deserved. Months later, I found myself standing outside Tessa's house, completely unannounced. My heart sank the moment I saw the car parked in her driveway. It wasn't just any car, it was the one I had dreamed of driving, the one I had hoped would make my life a little easier, a little brighter. But seeing it there, gleaming under the sun, I felt a wave of emptiness crash over me. All the money, all the effort, it didn't matter anymore. What hurt the most was realizing I had lost something far more valuable than material things, my sister's trust. I stood there for what felt like hours, just staring at the house, my hands trembling slightly. Memories of everything that had happened played in my mind like a cruel slideshow. I had wanted so badly to have her life, to prove myself, to finally be recognized for all I had done. But now, all I could do was watch, knowing I'd never get it back. Not the car, not the money, not the laughter we once shared. From the window, I caught a glimpse of Tessa. She was calm, almost cold, looking right through me. I thought maybe she would yell, maybe she would come running to yell at me or demand answers. But she didn't. She just stood there, unmoved. I could see a tiny flicker of something in her eyes, maybe pity, maybe satisfaction. And I realized then that she had won in a way I hadn't expected. I whispered to myself, barely audible, "You wanted my life." And in that moment, I understood. She wasn't trying to humiliate me anymore. She was letting me see the price of envy, the cost of trying to take what wasn't mine. It wasn't about revenge in the way I had imagined. It wasn't about screaming or breaking things or making her feel the pain I had felt. It was about showing me that some things, once lost, can't be taken back. I turned away from the driveway, feeling an odd mix of sadness and relief. I knew I couldn't change the past, couldn't undo the mistakes I had made, but maybe I could learn from them. Maybe this was the closure I needed, even if it came in the form of a quiet lesson rather than a triumphant victory. As I walked down the street, leaving Tessa and the car behind, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The anger that had burned inside me for so long finally softened. I wasn't laughing or celebrating. I wasn't gloating or plotting. I was just at peace. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction, I realized. Sometimes the true revenge is understanding, accepting, and finally letting go. And in that quiet, painful moment, I let go.